Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time of day it is you're watching, I want to say thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. Now, today I want to talk about soulmates and the possibility of having more than one soulmate. And then how do we know we found love? And how do we define this emotion that we would climb over mountains to reach? We even sometimes trash perfectly good relationships in hopes of finding more of it. Some people even spend the majority of their time thinking about it, striving for it, praying for it, hoping for it, and yes, even seeking psychics for predictions of when it will finally be their turn at that love wheel. The best way to understand love is to break it down into more manageable parts and examine the components of what it is we are all desperately seeking. Let's begin with the question: how do we know for certain that we have it? And then, is it when we experience the initial rush of lust and excitement, the butterflies in our stomach feeling that happens just at the mere sound of our lover's voice? But we know that can't be it, for that feeling never seems to last very long. So then we wonder, when that feeling ends, are we out of love? If not, then why do we always feel like it's over? Have we quit trying, quit putting in the effort to keep the energy positive in our relationships? Or is love a little like everything else in our lives, and it's supposed to relax into a nice, comfortable place for us to be? A place that, while secure and safe, no longer seems to be supplying those initial feelings that we have become so addicted to. Does love grow with age and change with maturity, much as the same as we do? Or should it always leave us wanting more? Many people would opt for the latter. I believe in a perfect world, we would find our soulmate and fall helplessly in love with them, and always be absolutely sure that he or she is the ideal person that perfectly complements our life. But unfortunately, this is not a perfect world. So what then? Do we settle? And if we do settle for less than what we think is possible in our relationships, will we always miss out on our soulmate? Would he or she have been the next person we met? You know what I'm talking about. That what if game. What if I waited for the next person? What if I settled for something less than what I could have had? What if I'm not in love with the person I'm with, but rather I just love them? You know, the like brother or sister type of thing. Yet on the other hand, if we don't settle, we worry that we will let someone leave our lives that possibly were meant to be our partner, but simply fail to either set off those fireworks that we expected, or the fireworks stop all too sudden. Think back to your first real love, the one that made you feel complete and whole, just being in their presence, the one that you never questioned. You never thought a word if he was the right one for you, because you just simply knew they were. Very likely this is the one who started this whole fireworks thing. This is the one who set our expectations so high. I believe that our first real love is always the most potent. It consumes us and everything in its way. And it is glorious, no doubt about it. Yet with it comes the first heartache, the first gut-wrenching, life-consuming pain. This is the time that I believe is the beginning of the end of our loving in a natural and innocent way. This first heartache changes us. We at the very core of ourselves have just experienced something so deeply profound that this experience that we can't help but become altered to one degree or another. Then we think about, it's not really that different than any other experience in our life, and that we are changed in the end because of having experienced it at all. So, as we continue to look for that same feeling and a new love, we can't find it because in the way in which we have given love in the past and received love has been completely altered. I believe that even if the perfect person would stumble upon us, we couldn't love them like we loved the first time, because we are now different people who love in a very different way. Does this mean that we love our new love any less? I don't think so. We just love them differently. Just because it doesn't feel as powerful doesn't mean it isn't. Perhaps the wisdom of our first love, we learned that we would rather love longing than completely. And perhaps we are more hesitant in the beginning, and we can't be as vulnerable and as open as we were with our first love, which means we can't feel the same intensity as we did. It's just no longer coded within us. I believe that the earth is constructed as a wonderful teaching planet precisely because of the emotional range that is possible here. Thus, through experience and maturity, our emotional range changes too. Not because we want it to necessarily, but because it also changes with our age and it matures with our experiences. We have to learn that our definition of love has changed, and we must adjust our previous thoughts of how love would feel in order to ever really love someone again. As far as holding out for that perfect person goes, I don't really believe that there is only one perfect person, one soulmate, so to speak. Instead, I believe there are many potential people who will enter our lives that we may choose to love and build a relationship with. But it is always up to us to do so. Fate and destiny will provide the opportunity, perhaps even the initial encounter, but the outcome is always our choice. The idea of a soulmate coming to rescue us from our humdrum life is tempting and exciting, but doubtful at best. Besides, who wants to be rescued from their life, their lessons, and their growth? What kind of life would that be? I also believe that when you leave your current relationship in search for this perfect other relationship, that you very well come across another person. In fact, I believe there's always someone else out there for you. But don't fool yourself. Everyone comes with their own strengths and weaknesses, and we all have a little baggage. No one is really your white knight unless you believe they are. Yet, at the same time, I know that if you stay with someone simply for security and familiarity, then you may always feel like you have settled for less than what you could have had. And in all reality, you may have. But I know for certain that you feel like you have settled, then you will live the rest of your life feeling like you have settled. And that's no way to live. My idea of a good relationship is one in which it begins with your loving each other completely. Too many people pick apart their love by trying to categorize it and constantly internalizing questions. Am I in love, or do I just love them? My belief is that if you love someone, then love them, period. That's it. It's that simple. If you trust someone, trust them. The fancy whistles and lights are so much less than they are cracked up to be, and in truth are probably nothing more than your hormones running a little wacky. And that won't last. This we know for sure. In fact, if those initial feelings did last, I think it would eventually kill us all. Our bodies are not equipped to handle so much adrenaline for very long. Or at the very least, we would completely burn out on the thought of being in love. as the burden of always being overwhelmed and out of control would be far much more for anyone to carry. In my opinion, a good relationship is comprised of a few simple ingredients. Those begin as follows. I believe if you love someone, if you respect them as a human being and how they try to live their lives, if you think of home when you think of them, and as Dr. Phil might say, when you need a soft place to fall, you know they're the best place to be, then you just might be into something valuable. I believe love grows more full-bodied and deeply soulful with age, and that a love that can endure hardships of any kind and keep on running is a good love. While we are here on this earth, we need someone to help us through our difficult times. And so many loves fall apart during these very moments of our life. So when you find someone that doesn't, you just might want to hang on to them. Love is a state of mind. It is a compliment you make to always try to love that person. And regardless of whether they are experiencing their high times or their low. It is strong and as steel, as reliable as the setting sun, and as deeply responsive as you choose to make it. It is a special gift, and it is a blessing. Yet, with all that said, love does end sometimes. I believe that divorce is not always the option, but sometimes it's necessary. I believe that there are times when we are put here to be with a certain person, but only for a little while. Then when this lesson they came to teach us and we learned it ends, we may need to move on. But only you can know this. Try to be honest with yourself. Don't allow yourself to upset the apple cart just because the grass may be greener somewhere else. Quite often, that's only an illusion anyway. I've learned that when divorce is really necessary, you know it. I don't think it or have to debate it. I know the relationship is over because I don't love that person anymore. I care for them and wish them the very best in life, but I can feel with absolute certainty that it's time to move on. I believe love is honest in that way. I found that the lasting loves are the ones that just keep on going and allow you to focus on your goals and areas of learning while remaining deeply supportive and protective. Try to do this little test. Close your eyes and try to picture your life 5 years from now, both with and without your current partner. Notice what you're doing. Notice what you're feeling and who is around you. If 5 years from now you find your life is good and full with this person, then you should try to hang on to them and feed your relationship. If not, if it's full of arguments, resentments, lies, abuse, or whatever, then cut your losses. Love should never cause more pain than happiness. This I know for sure. Love isn't always as obvious as we think it should be, or as spectacular as many people have you believe. But even in the longest of relationships, there are moments, brief as they may be, that you do feel that love again. You look at your partner and the butterflies take hold. This is when you know you're indeed onto something special. What I know for sure about love is this. I believe that love is always worth the risk. And if you don't give love, the receiving is not as nearly fun. I also believe that in the end, living and loving life is really the only thing that matters. And lastly, I believe that being in love is very simple. It's people that make it complicated. For those of you who are currently in a relationship, appreciate the fact that you have someone who loves you and work each day to love them more, instead of looking for reasons to love them less. For those of you who aren't in a relationship, I found that once you stop needing love, once you quit searching for it, it seems to find you. Can't say I know why that is, but I only know that it does happen. I hope for you that you love often and largely. I hope you don't harm your love by looking for its imperfections. And I hope you understand what a gift it is to feel such an intense emotion. Appreciate it, nurture it, and above all, share it. This is what I know about love. Now, and always, people, I want you to take 2 fingers, spread them apart. Peace.